once again to the Sober Thinkers channel. My name is Michael, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in with me once more. Now, today's video is going to be titled "Smart Does Not Mean Smart," and you can put that in quotation marks. Now, growing up, I always tend to have heard the term smart being tossed around sort of like a rag doll, as if it was some type of position in life to be obtained and never moved away from once accomplished, thus forever holding that position. Now, in today's society, we've come a very long ways from where we were. We have all types of devices, be it phones, computers, GPS, etc., that do just about any and everything for us on a brain computation level that makes us look highly intelligent and smarter than what we probably really are. Now, we have all types of fancy attire to aid in this as well. But even with all of these things present, you can tell that something is absent or missing, both key and vital to the equation of life. However, as I got older, especially old enough to have somewhat of a grasp on how life/things worked, I began to see that the term smart was not being attributed to individuals in its proper context, and that these individuals were in some ways being given far too much credit for something that in some ways did not apply to them, nor had they displayed this through any real consistent actions. Now, since the outset of a young age, especially during my early grade school years, I would always hear the term smart and or dumb thrown around, mostly by adults. People like parents, mom, dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, etc. Sort of as a means to measure your performance on some level, or more importantly, which is what it felt like to me, your self-worth or value as a person. Now, I could say this because even though I was too young to understand the full dynamics of self-worth or value as a person from an all-out cognitive perspective, I always had this sort of intuitive feeling whenever these terms were applied, as if it were some level of either build up or tear down of my person or little person at the time. Now, such praise and or degradation usually stem from my performance, either be it school or some task I was asked to perform. Now, as I've been long into my adult years, I've seen a great deal of things pertaining to how people rise, thrive, and arrive at certain points of stature in their life by way of doing everything right, so to speak, crossing the perfect T's and dotting the perfect I's. However, these are not always the smartest or the wisest people upon closer review, because the overall display of their lifestyle, which includes but is not limited to how they handle themselves, their affairs, both personal and professional, types of choices made, etc., shows a completely different result stemming from someone who's deemed to be so well together, intellectually advanced, and ultimately deemed as smart. In fact, I see the exact opposite from those given such a high designation based upon such subpar grading system, if you will. Simply because, in my view, I see the smart person as someone who expresses such characteristics through actions. That's it. Smart is not just a characteristic to be thrown around like a rag doll and bestowed upon any and everyone like a king's or King George's crown simply because they can or could perform well on a few standardized tests or recalled or regurgitated certain things based upon memory. Smart is considered to be, in my view, actions that are displayed via good, solid, and lasting results, wise decisions through the use of sound judgment, wisdom, and discernment. Forget how many consistently good grades you've made in school, how many accolades you've managed to rack up or receive, and how many tests you've passed. How smart are you really? In the category of what I like to call life smart. People do a hell of a good job in all the superficial categories they are that people could possibly be judged on, and yet they are entirely what I like to call life dumb. Meanwhile, they lack all the good and real and solid characteristics that constitute a truly smart individual, and that's smart decision making skills or sound decision making skills, critical thinking skills, and the ability to see the bigger picture, i.e., the greater life lens of expression or expansion, and all out common sense, which seals the deal and brings it all home. At least in my opinion, all of these traits together, accompanied by the solid levels of formal education and learning, makes for a better overall outward picture as opposed to the lack thereof. So in a nutshell, what I'm really trying to say is that it's one thing to have access to all of the best education, both formal and higher learning, all the latest and most innovative technologies at your fingertips and disposal, but without the fundamentals and or the fundamental foundations that greatly support or serve as a support of all of these other things, you have no real ground to stand on and no real solid sense of affirmations as to how well you're doing ultimately or where you really are in life. So once again, thank you for tuning in to the Sober Thinkers channel. Again, as always, remember to think positively, think wisely, and most importantly, think soberly. Until next time, thank you.